Virabhadra, Shiva. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sati Gaur Bhaktavinda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare, Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, 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 Hare, Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare, Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, 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 Hare, Hare. Slow down. No, Hare, Ma, Rama, Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare, Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, 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 Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Swami Prabhupada. You want to sing now? No.
You can sing. Okay, keep playing the Nanga then. Keep playing. Namah Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatadishatarine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha शून्यवादी पाश्चातादिशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैता गदाधर शिवा सादि गौर भक्त वृंदा श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैता शिवा सादि गौर भक्त वृंदा जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैता गदाधर शिवा सादि गौर भक्त वृंदा श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैता हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्ण हरे कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्ण हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna,
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Radha, Kala Chanji Radha, Kala Chanji Jai Shri Radhe. Jai Radha, Madan Mohan Radha, Madan Mohan Jai Shri Radhe. Jai Radha, Giridhari Radha, Giridhari Jai Shri Radhe. Jai Radha, Sham Sundar Radha, Sham Sundar Jai Shri Radhe. Jai Radha, Giri Govardhan Radha, Giri Govardhan Jai Shri Radhe. Radha Giri Govardhan Jai Shri Radhe. Jai Radha, Madhav Radha, Madhav Jai Shri Radhe. Jayo Sita Ram, Jayo Lakshman Hanuman, Sita Ram, Jayo Lakshman Hanuman.
Sita Prabhu. What do you want to do? I can't follow you. Do what you want.
Jayo Gauranitai, 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 Jayo Gauranitai. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol.
Okay. All right. Srila Prabhupada ki. Gaur Pimanandi. Quickly. Fell apart. Oh. Nice try. You play mridanga very nicely. Who's better, your mridanga playing or her singing? He's in the hot seat now. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhotade Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Prachadine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paschatya Desatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I suggest everyone turns and looks at the screen instead of at me, because that's where the action is. Go ahead. Now, I was asked while visiting here if the topic I could speak on was our visit to Haridwar. So there's not too many evening events, and it is the month of Damodar. I have a really nice presentation on Damodar Leela. Yes, Sunday, I was at the Chicago temple, and the place was packed, and two devotees separately came and said, I've heard the Damodar Leela so many times, and each time it's so nice, and so many nice things were said. I felt really encouraged, because like many of you, you've been around for umpteen years, and it's not like you don't know the Damodar Leela. But there's always something different and unique, and just hearing it again and again anyways. So, but that's not tonight. Let's see if it does happen while I'm here. In Haridwar, we'll be hearing shortly, one of the, I didn't know until I got there, features of Haridwar is the palace of Daksha was in the vicinity of Haridwar. Did you know that? You know who Daksha is, right? You don't know who Daksha is? Oh, come on. Daksha was the father of Sati. Sati became married to Lord Shiva. Sati, the wife or consort of Lord Shiva, was Sati, who was the daughter of Daksha. Daksha means expert. And one of the things he was expert at performing yajnas. Another thing he was expert at is producing offspring. Because he's one of the Prajapatis. You know what that means? Prajapatis means after Brahma created the universe, he had to fill it up with living entities. And those persons that helped him fill it up, they're the Prajapatis. They produced offspring. He was really expert. So we'll hear something about Daksha, Lord Shiva, and Sati from Haridwar. Another name for Haridwar is Ganga Dwara. Dwara means gate. And Haridwara means the gate of the abode of Hari, like Haridam, this Vaikuntha realm. And it's also the place where the Ganga comes. Of course, the Ganga starts up in Badrinath, but comes down from the mountains to what's called the foothills. Now, when we were in Haridwar, they kept saying foothills, foothills, and it's like, they're mountains. What are you calling these foothills? Until we went up, and then it's like, those are foothills. They're mountain foothills, but they're foothills compared to the Himalayas. And Badrinath is way, 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 way up there. So where the Ganges descends to the plains, that's at the foothills, and it's kind of flat, but arms reach away, and there's mountains, Haridwar. And near Haridwar is this place called Kankhal. We went there. It's the capital of Daksha's kingdom. And his palace was there, and the Daksha Yajna took place at Kankhal. And Prajapati Daksha, Daksha means expert. You have a good memory. You can play mridanga and you can have a good memory. That's good. What else do you do? Take prasadam, right? Okay. And Sati means chaste. Chaste. And Sati has many other names, many other names. And one of her celebrated names is Uma. And Uma, the general meaning is mother, but other meanings of the same word, Uma: tranquility, splendor, fame, night. And then after she immolated herself, she took birth again as Parvati, the daughter of Mount Parvat. Then all of this is being narrated in Canto 4. Canto 4, as the painting shows, is the discussion between the Grihastha on the right, that's Vidura. Vidura was on pilgrimage, and he went to Haridwar. He went to Haridwar, because in Haridwar, that's where the ashram of Maitreya was. So Maitreya basically gives a whole Bhagavatam discourse. I mean, it's within the Bhagavatam, but it's pretty comprehensive. It's one of the sections of the Bhagavatam where Sarga and Visarga are told. Sarga means the creation of Vishnu. Visarga means the subcreation of Brahma. And then what happens after that? So he, Maitreya, described all of that to Vidura. It's not like Vidura didn't know. Vidura is a vastly learned personality. Look at the screen, not at me. Over there. This is where it's all happening. And here's the discussion. It's Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, chapters 1 through 7. So this is a little preview of what we're going to be hearing, just some portions of what we're going to be hearing. And it all happened in Haridwar along the bank of the Ganga. Daksha cursed Lord Shiva, talks between Lord Shiva and Sati. Sati quits her body. Shiva's response, he finishes Daksha and some other things. So going back before Canto 4, there's Canto 3. And in Canto 3, there's a similar description as we find in Canto 4. And that similar description has to do with Sarga, what Vishnu does. And then what Brahma does, that's Visarga, chapters 8 through 12. This is little, super quick overview of the structure of the third canto. And just after that, there comes the descendants of the first Manu, a direct son of Lord Brahma, is Swayambhuva Manu, and then Swayambhuva Manu is married, and he has some offspring. And especially important is this relationship of Swayambhuva Manu and Devahuti as Kapila Dev as their son, and Kapila Muni. So here's a nice chart. If you like charts, here's a nice chart. Up at the top, there's Swayambhuva Manu and Shatarupa. So this is, after the subcreation of Brahma, then comes populating the place. So Swayambhuva Manu and Shatarupa. And they had 3 daughters and 2 sons. but they were very active. Devahuti was one of the daughters. Their names sound similar. Devahuti, Akuti, and Prasuti, 3 daughters. And the daughters number 2 and 3, they're not discussed too much until the 4th canto. And then Devahuti, there's a big discussion of Devahuti, who married Kardama Muni, or Kardama Muni married Devahuti, and then they had offsprings, starting with Kapila Dev. And some daughters. Then going over to the right side, there were 2 sons, Uttanapada. Uttanapada had 2 queens, Suniti and Sunasti. Her name was Suruchi, but she was Sunasti. And Sunasti was the mother of Uttama, the younger son, and Suniti was the mother of Dhruva. So there's a whole big, Dhruva and getting Dhruva's brother being killed, and Dhruva going after the yakshas and slaughtering all the yakshas left and right, and that whole big discussion. And yakshas, their followers. Yakshas are followers of whom? Yakshas are followers of whom? Kuvera. So Kuvera didn't know what to do, so he went to Brahma. Brahma knew what to do. He came and sat Dhruva down and said, "Stop, please." So he stopped. So that's like, 4th canto. And the descendants, etc. That covers a big part of Canto 4. And then we go to Canto 5, son number 2, Priyavrata. So we find a lot about Priyavrata. Priyavrata was married by Barhishmati, and he also had a second wife. We don't hear so much about the second wife, but Priyavrata. We hear about Priyavrata. He's very involved in the cosmology discussion in Canto 5, Priyavrata. So that's like a little overview. And we're going to go now to Canto 4. We'll look over there on the left. Canto 4. Chapters 1 through 7. That's what our discussion is. And where it all takes place, this is Maitreya describing the dynasty of Swayambhuva Manu, because it was already discussed in Canto 3, but now again in Canto 4. In chapter 1 of Canto 4, he's describing the dynasty of Swayambhuva Manu, during which time Narayan Rishi appeared, very important person in the whole of Badrinath and the whole history of this place. But we're going to, each of those petals, there's 7 in number, and the little drawing inside the petal is meant to illustrate what happens in that chapter. We'll see this image 7 times. So here's the first time. And the first chapter 1 is the descendants of Swayambhuva Manu. And then number 2, down there, you see there's Daksha with his finger raised and pointing at Lord Shiva and insulting Lord Shiva. So that's chapter 2. Daksha offends Lord Shiva. And here's a little bit of what's in the chapter. Lord Shiva is being described in this section as having different characteristics. He's the best among the gentle. Shilavatam Shresthe. He's the spiritual master of the whole world. Charachara Gurum, the spiritual master of the whole world. Nirvairam, without enmity. And Shanta, Vigraham, always peaceful. Shoo. Quite a list of qualities. This is from this chapter 2. Atmaramam. He's self-satisfied. So this is a little illustration. Vidura inquires from Maitreya. In your description here, you said how Daksha hated Lord Shiva. Daksha hated Lord Shiva. How is it possible he could hate Lord Shiva? Because he has all these good qualities. How could he hate Lord Shiva? And then to explain how, and then what happened, because Maitreya starts to describe there was a big sacrifice. Very interesting painting. Many, many personalities. You see Lord Shiva in the lower right. And there are many other personalities, Lord Brahma, this one, that one, the other one, the other one. They're all sages attending part of a big sacrifice. And the sacrifice was underway. And as the sacrifice was underway, at his headquarters, at his palace, Daksha entered into the scene. He came to the sacrificial arena. And this is a very old painting. Everyone stood to honor him except two people. One is his father, Lord Brahma, and the other was Lord Shiva, who was his son-in-law. Because Daksha already had many children, and one of his youngest daughters was married to Lord Shiva. And so when this happened, there's the fire in the center of that painting. He, Daksha, took exception to the fact that Lord Shiva, everyone except Lord Brahma, stood to offer him respect. And so Daksha offered respects to Brahma, but while gazing at Lord Shiva began to speak harsh words. And the harsh words are just paraphrased. But the artwork is fantastic. He's gesturing at Lord Shiva, saying insulting things. Next to Lord Shiva is Lord Brahma. Now, Shiva is a son, Daksha is a son of Brahma. So they're brothers. On the pretext of speaking about good manners and culture of respect, Daksha's envy took the shape of sharp words as he criticized Lord Shiva. And really nasty. This Shiva is shameless and proud fellow. He married my daughter and thus accepted himself as my subordinate, yet he doesn't offer me due respects. He is impure, unclean, homeless, mad, and the master of ghosts and ignorance. So there. Due to his deep-rooted envy, Daksha cursed Lord Shiva after saying many things. The demigods are eligible to share in the oblations of sacrifice, but Lord Shiva, who is the lowest of all the demigods, should not have a share. So there. And who's that? Nandi. Nandeshwara, devout servant of Lord Shiva, became infuriated at Daksha and counter-cursed Daksha and his Brahmana supporters, because there were Brahmana supporters that remained silent when he's saying all these harsh, cruel things about Lord Shiva. So he counter-cursed. Anyone who has accepted Daksha as the most important personality and neglected Lord Shiva because of envy is less intelligent, and because of visualizing in duality will be bereft of transcendental knowledge. So there. And it's not over yet. Who's this? Brigu. Brigu stood up and shouted loudly at Nandishwara and cursed Nandishwara. Let the followers of Lord Shiva become atheists, be diverted from scriptural injunctions, become addicted to wine, flesh, and take shelter of unauthorized and heretical views. And then more cursing and counter-cursing. When such cursing and counter-cursing was going on between Lord Shiva's followers and the parties of Daksha and Bhrigu, Lord Shiva became very morose. So what did he do? Not saying anything, he left the arena of the sacrifice, followed by his disciples. So we're still in chapter 2, but now here's the beginning of chapter 3. In this manner, the tension between the father-in-law and the son-in-law, Daksha and Lord Shiva, continued for a considerably long time. That wasn't over when he got up and walked out. The issues continued and continued and continued. So now we're moving on to chapter 3. He went back to his place, Kailash, and Sati is with her husband, and she hears about another yajna number 2, that Daksha is planning. She heard about it from her sisters, because she has many sisters, and she wants to attend. Because it's a party. She wants to go to the party. A festival, a yajna festival. And so he didn't invite Lord Shiva. Big, spectacular event. He's appointed the chief Prajapati, and he's expert at Prajapati business, producing offspring, and he's expert at yajnas, and he's purposely not inviting his son-in-law. Becoming aware of the festivities, Sati tries to convince Lord Shiva to go to the sacrifice. This is chapter 3 now. She said, "My dear Lord Shiva, your father-in-law is now executing great sacrifices, and all the demigods, having been invited by him, are going there. If you so desire, we may also go." And she says a whole bunch of other things. It'll be nice, and I'll see my sisters, and etc., etc., etc. My sisters, my mother's sisters, and their husbands, and other affectionate relatives must be assembled there. So if I go, I shall be able to see them. My dear husband, I'm very much anxious to go. So what's he supposed to say? What is a good husband supposed to say? Men? What are you supposed to say? You speak the truth. That's what you should do. Wise Shiva reasoned with emotional Sati. One can go to a friend and or relative's house, even uninvited, but only if the host is not a fault finder. The 6 qualities. So he's giving transcendental knowledge here. Knowledge, austerity, wealth, beauty, youth, and heritage become faults in a proud person who cannot see good in others. I mean, the Bhagavatam is filled with the perils of pride. Just yesterday evening, Nala Kuvera and Manigriva, because they were sons of Kuvera and they were mega wealthy, and his father gave residence to Lord Shiva because he, Kuvera, was appointed by Manu as the treasure of heaven, and Manu also gave him as his residence, the whole mountain. And later, he just in friendship, he wasn't a worshiper, but a friendship with Lord Shiva, that's how elevated is Kuvera. He gave him residence there also. You can stay in my place. So Lord Shiva accepted. And so the two sons of Kuvera, mega wealthy, they began worshiping Lord Shiva, and they were super proud. So it happens. And when you get super proud, you cannot see good in others. My dear young wife, certainly friends and relatives offer mutual greetings by standing up, welcoming one another, and offering obeisances, different ways of greeting another. But those who are elevated to the transcendental platform, being intelligent, offer such respects to the super soul who is sitting within the body, not to the person who identifies with the body. I am always engaged in offering obeisances to Lord Vasudeva in pure Krishna consciousness. I mean that in pure Krishna consciousness, that's Prabhupada's language, obviously. But, why Lord Shiva, didn't stand to offer respect, he's giving an explanation. When you're offering respect at all times to Super Soul, that's sufficient to take care of all other formalities, right? I mean, it doesn't mean that you neglect, but he's beyond that social distinction. You may be the favorite daughter of Daksha, but he will not respect you because of your connection with me. Therefore, you should not see your father, although he is the giver of your body, because he and his followers are envious of me, because his envy, O most worshipful one, he has insulted me with cruel words, although I'm innocent. And she knows that. She heard the whole thing. In spite of this instruction, if you decide to go, neglecting my words, the future will not be good for you. He's not saying don't go, but he's not going to go. He's advising her to not go. You are most respectable. And when you are insulted by your relative, meaning your father, this insult will immediately be equal to death. It's foretelling of what's going to happen. So that's the end of chapter 3, and now we're moving on to chapter 4. Neglected by her father, Sati immolates her body in a fire by yoga meditation. So look in the pedal over there on the right, number 4, her body is burning. So here we are again. She is coming before her father, but she noticed that in all the arrangement for the yajna, her fathers who are so expert in yajna, but the devas were being made, offerings were prepared for them except for Lord Shiva. And as he predicted, he didn't even receive his favorite daughter nicely or at all, just even acknowledge her presence. So she became very clear about what was advised for her, and she says some very heavy things. You are an ati asadhutama. Asadu uttama. You're the biggest non-sadhu around, as you insulted an exalted personality. The dust of Vaishnavas diminishes an offender. Lord Shiva's name, fame, orders, and lotus feet are all glorious. Lord Shiva is not obliged to follow Vedic rules. Materialists cannot achieve the power of transcendentalists. My body is a source of embarrassment. And then she speaks this verse, chapter 4. It is not wonderful for persons who have accepted a transient material body as the self to engage always in deriding great souls. Such envy on the part of materialistic persons is very good, because that is the way they fall down. They are diminished by the dust of the feet of great personalities. And so she decides, my only connection with you is this body, I'm going to give it up. So the painting shows her giving it up, and the painting also shows these forms of Lord Shiva by her side. Meditating on the lotus feet, the holy lotus feet of her husband, who is Jagat Guru Sati, became completely cleansed of all contaminations, namely having a connection with her father, and quit her body in a blaze of fire by meditation on the fiery element. So that's not a BBT painting. Here's a BBT painting of the same. So when her body burst into flames, a great cry was heard from the sky. And when the great cry was heard from the sky, the followers of Lord Shiva became very anxious. And when the followers of Lord Shiva became anxious, the Ribhu demigods drove away Shiva's attendants. So there's like this battle going on right there in the Yajna arena. So there's the painting without all those words. And that ends chapter 4. We have just 3 more chapters to go. Starting with chapter 5. Angered by his wife's death, Shiva creates a fearful demon, Virabhadra, who destroys the sacrifice and beheads Daksha. So how did Lord Shiva find out? Lord Shiva found out because Narada paid him a visit. Hey, Lord Shiva, guess what? When Lord Shiva heard from Narada that Sati, his wife, was now dead because of Prajapati Daksha's insult to her, and that his soldiers, Lord Shiva's soldiers, had been driven away by the demigods, the Ribhus, he became greatly angry. And then he made an arrangement to take proper steps to teach the Daksha a lesson. So off he goes. Lord Shiva, being extremely angry, pressed his lips with his teeth and immediately snatched from his head a strand of hair which blazed like electricity or fire. He stood up at once, laughing like a madman, and dashed the hair to the ground. So, what happens next? From that hair, a fearful black demon, Virabhadra, appeared. Quote, because you are born from my body, you are the chief of all my associates, therefore kill Daksha and his soldiers at the sacrifice. Very clear. Here's the BBT painting of Virabhadra, pretty big guy. And as he entered into the yajna, there's the horse. They were planning to do a horse sacrifice, apparently, and so many other things. And the whole thing became a disarray. In comes Virabhadra with great anger. And Virabhadra grabbed Daksha. And when he grabbed Daksha, what did he do? He walked over. First, he tore off Brigu's mustache because he had made this insult. He plucked out Bhaga's eyes. he knocked out Pusha's teeth because Pusha showed his teeth when all this was going on. He was laughing, and so he knocked his teeth out. Virabhadra cut off Daksha's head with the wooden device meant for killing the sacrificial animals. Thus Daksha became a sacrificial animal. He lost his head. And it's a big mess in the name of a sacrifice because of offense. So that's the end of chapter 5. Chapter 6, Lord Brahma. The demigods, led by Lord Brahma, the demigods prayed to Lord Shiva to allow the sacrifice to be successfully completed, because once you start, if you don't complete it, becomes very dangerous. So headed by Lord Brahma, all the priests and other members of the sacrificial assembly and all the demigods, having been defeated by the soldiers of Lord Shiva and injured by weapons like tridents and swords, approached Lord Brahma with great fear. After offering him obeisances, they began to speak in detail of the events which had taken place. So there the demigods coming before Lord Brahma, disclosing what happened and asking for his help. When Brahma heard everything from the demigods and the members who had attended the sacrifice, he replied, basically, shame on you. You cannot be happy in executing a sacrifice if you blaspheme a great personality and thereby offend his lotus feet. You cannot have happiness in that way. So he chastises them because they were they weren't engaged in the same way that Daksha was, but they were participating and going along with the whole thing. So they're accomplices or guilty by association. So Lord Brahma is scolding them. And then he, Lord Brahma, goes with the demigods and various sages to the abode of Lord Shiva, Mount Kailash. And there's a long, you can see how many verses, describing the place and the whole region. And it's like super, super spectacular. I mean, it's not worldly opulent, but it's a different place. So over on the right, that's Lord Brahma, and then there's sages. Lord Brahma is entering into the assembly where Lord Shiva is with his associates. And of course, Lord Shiva offers his respect to Lord Brahma. Seeing Brahma, Shiva immediately stood up and offered him respects by bowing down at his feet. Lord Brahma praised the exalted position of Shiva in various ways and petitioned him, O Lord, this is Brahma speaking to Shiva, please spare sinful Daksha. Such people are already killed by providence due to their mean-mindedness, envy, and causing distress to others by piercing words. They need not be killed again by exalted personalities like you. Let Daksha, who has been appointed in charge of religious sacrifices, get back his life. Pretty high demand, huh? Please revive others too. Please take your share of sacrifice and let the sacrifice be completed. And so he's getting this request from his father. I mean, it's please, but it's an instruction. And so here's the final chapter. Daksha, who now has the head of a goat, because when they chopped off it, Virabhadra chopped off his head, everyone was aghast. And so Instead, a head was put on the body of a head of Daksha. So he's got a goat's head. Here's a painting of Daksha with a goat's head. Pretty embarrassing, huh? It was very beautiful and doesn't look so beautiful anymore. Daksha, who now has the head of a goat, pacifies Lord Shiva and finishes the sacrifice. Then Lord Vishnu appears in the sacrificial arena, and they all lived happily ever after. Or something like that. So there's Daksha, and he's being visited by Lord Brahma. Lord Shiva said, "My dear Father Brahma, I do not mind the offenses created by the demigods, because these demigods are childish and less intelligent. I do not take a serious view of their offenses, and I have punished them only in order to right them." It wasn't revenge, it was to benefit them. But he's been given this instruction. Since the head of Daksha has already been burned to ashes, he'll have the head of a goat. We went to the place where they say the head of Daksha was in this urn. No, we didn't go check it out, but that's what they say. And he wasn't already right away being given a goat's head, but because he was asked, Shiva was asked to bring him back to life, he brought him back to life by giving him a goat's head. And then the yajna continues with Daksha with his goat's head leading the yajna. And as he's leading the yajna, there's Daksha with his goat's head, and Lord Vishnu comes to receive, because Yagyavai Vishnu, Yagya means the Vishnu is worshipped. There, in genuine Vedic sacrifices, it's not just worship of demigods. The demigods are included, but the demigods are agents and representatives of. Prabhupada gives this example. Supposing an ambassador goes to a foreign country and he receives a gift. It doesn't belong to the ambassador. It belongs to the country. If he pockets the gift, he's criminal. Because it's not, the gift isn't to him. He's the representative of, but it's not his. Similarly, the demigods are representatives of the personality of Godhead. So when gifts or sacrifices made to them, the real intention is they're representatives of. It's honoring of Vishnu, and by honoring of his representatives. Now, not everybody has that understanding, but that's the Vedic text. We'll say it again in a different way. Same thing, in a different way. Vedaishta Sairvar Aham Eva Vedyo. The purpose of all the Vedas is to know Krishna. 90+% of the Vedas is Karmakanda. And Karmakanda means Karma, you know what karma means. And kanda is like section. Like, you know, the Ramayana, Balakanda, Ayodhya Kanda, etc. Kanda section. So Karma Kanda is a section of the Vedas that deals with sacrifices for doing sacrifice to demigods to get stuff. Om Jai Jagadisha Hare. Most people, they do the sacrifices not to worship Vishnu. They want stuff. So they go to the Brahmana that knows the mantras. They state their sankalpa. That's an important procedure in Vedic sacrifices. What's your intention? I want good health. I want good wealth. I want this. I want that. Om Jai Jagadisha Hare. And so the yagya is performed so they can get what they want. And the centering upon Vishnu, like this painting is showing, this is the last slide, that Vishnu is meant to be satisfied is often forgotten. You know, the priests included, because they're just doing a business. They know the mantras. You want this, so here we'll do this. You want that, we'll do that. No problem. Here's some requirement, some gifts to maintain me and my family. Anyway, so that's the deterioration of the Vedic process, but the Vedic process isn't deteriorated. The Vedic process is necessities are supplied, yes, but the purpose is satisfaction of Vishnu. And so, sure enough, Vishnu came. And that's how the Daksha Yagya pastime that took place at the capital and the palace of Daksha transpired. Now, after Sati, this part isn't in the Srimad Bhagavatam in this section, but she took birth again as the daughter of the Parvat hills, and thus Parvati became her name, and she again became the associate or consort of Lord Shiva by the name Parvati, but same person. So lots of lessons. One of the big lessons is, well, two big lessons, pride and offense. So this is the same as the Nalakuvara and Manigriva, but when there's pride, you can do any darn thing. You don't care. You may not even know what you're doing. Pride is so pernicious, so dangerous. And pride in what? Pride commonly when Narada Muni decides what to do with Nalakuvara and Manigriva, before cursing them to become trees, he has this whole long philosophical thing about how pride arises, and there are 4 sources of pride. What are the 4 sources of pride? The same 4 things that Queen Kunti speaks of in her prayers. Janma, Aishwarya, Shruta, and Shri. You know the verse? Janma, Aishwarya, Shruta, Shri, Bir, Adyamanamana, Kuman. People become mad when they have, by piety, they get the fruits of piety, and those are the 4 fruits of piety, and they become mad, attached to those fruits of piety and being the enjoyer of the fruits of piety. It happens. I mean, it doesn't always happen, but it's mostly happens. It's very common that it happens. People become very wealthy, and they become proud of their wealth. They become very beautiful. They become very proud. Very learned. They become very proud. I mean, it doesn't always happen, but it's a very strong tendency. A good parentage. So now the Kuvara and Manigriva, they had 2. They had wealth, they had good parentage. They're sons of Kuvera. Somehow treasurers get wealth. I don't know how that happens. Kuvera was really wealthy. And they were born with a silver spoon in their mouth, so they were wealthy and intoxicated with their position. So, that's what happened with Daksha. He was expert, and he was proud of his expertise. He was proud of the fact he's the chief Prajapati. He was proud of the fact that everything, just one thing upon the next thing. So if he means he had great qualification, but it went to his head. There's this saying that the bigger they are, the harder they fall. You've heard that one before? You've heard it. Bigger they are, the harder they fall. So he fell big time, Daksha. Lost his head. He got a goat's head? How embarrassing. But you see in the painting, with his goat's head, he's doing the yagya. Same thing happened to Nala, Kuvera, and Manigriva. Narada not only cursed them, but he benedicted three benedictions. One, they're going to remember all their past misdeeds. 100 celestial years, which is a lot of earthly years. They're going to remember their past misdeeds, which means their previous life as human beings and the misdeeds as human beings. And there's lots of penance in remembering stuff when you're in an unfortunate situation, and you know it's because of your misdeeds that you're in that unfortunate situation, and it lasts for 100 celestial years. Lots of humbling, humility became the hallmark instead of the opposite of pride. And then the benediction, it looked like a curse, but they were going to remember their past misdeeds, and then they would, at the end of those 100 celestial years, they would see the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face. And they would get a benediction from the Supreme Lord that they would become freed from all their contaminations to become pure devotees. That's really special. And that they'll regain their position as the sons of Kuvera, their heavenly position, the demigod position. 1, 2, 3, 4 benedictions along with the curse. So it wasn't really a curse, although standing as a tree is not nice. A little uncomfortable. How'd you like to be a tree in Texas? No, thank you. What about tree in Chicago? No, thank you. It's, the weather's changing and all the leaves are falling. It's like snow falling, but it's not snow, it's just the leaves are coming down, coming down, coming down. Pride and offense. Offense is very serious stuff. Very serious stuff. It's not mentioned only once. It's mentioned again and again and again. The consequence of offense is very serious stuff. It's in Bhagavatam, it's in Mahabharata, it's in Ramayana, it's in the teachings themselves. Houston isn't so far away geographically. How long is the drive between Dallas and Houston? 4.5? 4 hours. Depends on your speed, okay? Over the Thanksgiving weekend that's coming up, I'm very absorbed in preparing a seminar. Going to be something like a 14, 16-part seminar on Madhurya Kadambini. Very absorbing. Madhurya Kadambini. It's a description, but it's a description of the 9 stages of bhakti and how bhakti begins. I mean, it's like, how bhakti begins is going to take 3 classes. It's really nice. It's really nice. Because once you understand how it begins, then you can understand, if you really understand how it begins, you'll be very protective of that very source that how bhakti begins, which is sadhu sangha. Just today I got a letter from China, someone's initiated, and unfortunately they started to drift. They didn't have too much sadhu sangha. And so this and that and the other thing, and they drifted. You weren't regularly chanting, etc., without all of the detail. Then something happened. Sadhu Sangha came back into the life, and then they start to realize, wow, I went to sleep. And now they're getting revived. So they wanted some specific instruction. So one of the three. It's not the Mataji, it's Prabhu. She's trying to get him to slow down, and he's in fast lane. Are you okay?
Yes. Thank you, Maharaj. He has a question.
But let's just, let me just do the Madhurya Kandamani thing, and then we'll take his question. I included this little passage, Madhya Lila, chapter 22, verse, I think it's 54 or 58, something like that. It's Sanatana Shiksha. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was giving his first set of instructions to Sanatana Goswami. And in it, he's describing same thing. It's just same thing. How does bhakti begin? It begins with sadhu sangha, because it's a whole topic. We won't go into the whole topic. But it begins with sadhu sangha. There's details that are really nice, really important too. And then he goes on and describes when you begin bhakti, then there's stages of bhakti and you become elevated. You may become elevated. Then he describes even when the topmost stage of love of God is attained, sadhu sangha is imperative. And if sadhu sangha is imperative, plus, if there's some pride, you're going to offend sadhus. And that's a problem. Big problem. It's a stain that doesn't get removed. Big problem. Big problem. Big problem. In the pastimes of Krishna in Dwaraka, one of the personalities that was causing a big problem was Dvidvida. But Dvidvida was one of these Chiranjivas, and he lived through many, many, many cycles of the 4 yugas, because he was present during the time of Ramachandra. And according to the text that described his position, before he became Dvidvida and Mainda was his brother, they're Avarana deities in the spiritual world, Ayodhya. But he fell down. He became a demon from an offense. What was his offense? I had to do a bunch of research, but there's two main things. One offense was when Hanuman brought Ramachandra and when we had Ramachandra to meet Sugriva, there were 2 ministers standing right behind him. Maybe you've seen the painting. The two ministers standing right behind him are Dvidvita and Minda. Dvidvita whispered in his ear, pay attention to this one. Don't worry about that one, because he's the important guy. Ramchandra, pay attention to him. And neglected Lakshmana is an offense to Lakshmana. I mean, that's just like their peers, but Lakshmana's function in relation to the tattva of Ram tattva, he's this representative of the spiritual master, and he offended the spiritual master. And then second offense is when Lakshman was hit by the Shakti Shela weapon. He didn't say anything, he was just thinking in his mind, what kind of Kshatriya is he? Lying with a Shakti Shela weapon in his chest, like, get up, man. Because like he was powerful, very powerful. This isn't Kshatriya behavior. He didn't say it, but he was thinking it. According to the acharyas describing, those are his two offenses, and as a result, Dvidvita became susceptible to bad association. And who was his bad association? Krishna's son, which could be Varaha's son. Who is Varaha's son? Bhaumasura, Narakasura. And when Narakasura was killed, then he wanted revenge. So he went to the area where Krishna resided, made turmoil, etc., 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 etc. From offense. Beware. Don't mess with Lakshman. But it's not just Lakshman. Don't mess with Vaishnavas. And that's in Madhurya Kandambani. It's a big problem. We need association of devotees, but don't offend devotees. Either way, it's a knife that has two edges. Be careful. It does happen. One devotee offends another devotee. I mean, not necessarily intentionally, but sometimes you offend another person. It's very serious business. I'm saying it 10 times, but because it's really important. And that's this fellow with the goat's head. He made an offense to Lord Shiva. Big problem. It didn't become a big problem until he offended his Lord Shiva's wife, who was his daughter. And then he lost his head, etc. So, some lessons. Now, your question. He has his question.
He's asking, Daksha's daughter's name is, you mentioned as Sati.
Sati.
Yeah. But
Meaning chaste.
is it Dakshayani too? Her name is...
Say it again slower. Is it?
Her name is Dakshayani.
Dakshini?
Dakshayani.
I don't know if that's one of her names. If he knows, that's fine. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, because he knows that in that context, like Daksha's daughter is Dakshayani. So I think it's one of her names.
It could very well be.
Yeah. Just he
In
wanted to
Vedic culture, one person has multiple names.
Yes. Yes, Maharaj. Yeah, he wants to confirm that. That's all.
I can research it,
Okay, Maharaj. Thank you.
but I don't know offhand.
Okay. Yes,
That was the
Maharaj.
question?
Yeah, that's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
So any discussion? Haridwar Yatra. You have something.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the wonderful class. So my question is, when Shiva got insulted by Daksha. Shiva just remained quiet and
Yes,
he
he
left
did.
the place.
Yes.
How can we come to that stage? Generally, when we get insulted, there's fight or flight.
Well, he gives the answer to your question. The answer to your question is, within his mind, he was always meditating on Vasudeva. So when that state, just as such in Bhagavad Gita, when that state comes, when your mind is fixed upon the Supreme, even in the greatest calamity, you're undisturbed. He was not doing external things like persons who are like us are to do external things. He's not obliged by sadhana rules as we are. But when there's a violation, so how to get to that stage? In short, become Krishna conscious. But his mind is fixed. Always. Always. Then you remain undisturbed, even the greatest of calamities. Okay? No substitute for purity. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So most of the sacrifices are meant for the Vishnu. Sacrifices are meant for the Vishnu.
Sacrifices are meant for
the Vishnu. So, in the slide you are showing and also Vishnu only accepts Patram, Pushpam and those things. And
Yes.
in the slide you were showing there are sacrificial animals and also there is a wooden, the wooden weapon which will be, so what is the relevance of that?
So,
why are the animals, it is mentioned animals are sacrificed?
Minus the detail, because I'm not at all expert in Vedic sacrifices that sacrifice animals and all that. But stepping back from the detail, something that's not just man-made or fudged or something, it's that which is genuinely Vedic. There's a purpose behind that which is genuinely Vedic.
Okay.
And that purpose is to satisfy Vishnu. So the purpose may be lost, and people follow the procedure or deviate from the procedure, but thinking they're going to get something that they want. So there's different explanations, because I don't know all of them, but I've heard Prabhupada say one of the purposes of sacrifice of a goat is some people want to eat meat, and it's just the procedure so they can eat meat in a Vedic way as opposed to open a slaughterhouse and eat meat from the slaughterhouse. But from Vedic sacrifice, then it's karma free. But there's this procedure, that procedure, it's restriction. And ultimately, it's indirect, but it's ultimately because, this is the key thing, because it's from the breathing of Vishnu or Narayana, it has sanctifying effect. In other words, one who submits to the Vedic procedures, they're submitting to Narayana. And by that submission to the Vedic procedures, thus Narayana, they become Narayana conscious gradually, indirectly, super gradually. But that's the purpose behind it. So I don't know all the rituals and procedures and mantras and all of those things. I understand the principle.
And one question, Maharaj, why the goat head has been chosen because it is available there, or
Yes, it just happened to be available because they sacrificed a goat. There's a goat head lying around, put it on his head so he can have. What? What are you saying? Oh. Okay. Yes.
Haribol, Prabhuji. I'm reading Canto 6, Narayan Raksha Kabaj.
Ah,
So I found like Om Harir Vidyan Mama Sarva Raksham Nashtangi Padma Pathagendra Prishthe Darari Charma Sigdesho Chapa Pashandadhano Ashtaguna Ashtabahu. So Ashtagun is more of a tantra that Hanumanji has, like Garima, Lagima, and all those.
yeah.
But then in Narayan Raksha Kabaj, there is a bhakti also.
Okay.
So normally in spirituality, we don't see bhakti and tantra together.
Okay.
The tantric people will not do bhakti.
Right.
The person who does bhakti will not do tantra.
Right.
But Narayan Raksha Kabaj has a mix of both.
Okay. But
So
but that's
why-
okay.
But why it is so?
Why not?
Because
Why not? Because ultimately everything comes from the same source. It's just like, you know, the primary mantra that everybody knows, Gayatri mantra, the one that everybody knows. Some people think it's worship of the sun. Somebody asked me this. When an ISKCON devotee asked me, when we chant this Gayatri mantra, are we worshiping the sun or are we worshiping the Brahmajyoti? And my answer was, both the sun and the Brahmajyoti come from one source. We're worshiping that source. And those who are demigod worshippers and they want good health, they may worship thinking they're worshiping the sun. Or those that want liberation. So, but we're Vaishnavas. Both of them are from the same source. So we just focus on the source. Now, back to your question. Same thing. There may be this, there may be that, or the mix of the two, but they ultimately come from the same source, and that's the purpose. So one may want to go over here, one may want to go over there. And if it's being done with the proper ultimate understanding, it's from the same source. The goal is reach the source. That's the goal. That's Vishnu.
so Prabhuji, tantra will take you down.
No.
Like if tantra doesn't.
If it's minus Vishnu Bhakti, yes. But it's not essential that it's going to be minus Vishnu Bhakti.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Thank you for your visit and purifying Dallas area. My question, Maharaj, is Daksha, a Prajapati, great personality. And same way, we have heard a lot of pastimes of Lord Indra, another great personality. Even Lord Brahma, greatest of the greatest. But we have heard pastimes where they have a temporary fall down.
Yeah.
And it's the pastimes, Krishna's Leela. My question is, we as practicing devotees with very limited knowledge, how do we perceive these personalities when we hear these pastimes? If the takeaway from this, especially for practicing devotees or kids.
Very good question. They're mixed. And we don't want to be mixed. It's like his question, the very first question. Become unmixed. Supposing you're not unmixed yet, like most of us, we're mixed. So there's risk at any moment. Something, but there's risk free, and that's when there's complete shelter. So we need to strive for that. Just in Chicago, I was in Chicago before coming here. There was a devotee named Murari Chaitanya. He was like 80 years old, and he had done tons and tons and tons and tons of service for so many years, and we had his funeral. So there was a question: where did his soul go? And the answer to where his soul goes depends on where his mind was at the moment he left his body. And what's going to determine that? Where's your mind? It's what you're attached to. Supposing you're mixed, it's not going to be attached to Krishna exclusively because it's mixed. And that goes with you. That carries you to the next destination. So now this is practical. You need to become a pure devotee. I need to become a pure, each of us need to become, we're practicing bhakti. That's nice. That's sadhana. Now back to the Madhurya Kandambini topic. Okay, there's 7 stages of sadhana. Keep going, because then there's Bhava Bhakti, Prema Bhakti. Supposing you don't become a Prema Bhakta. This came up. There's a statement in Baladev Vibhusan's commentary from Vishnu Sahasranam that one of the names of Vishnu is how he's merciful. It's not exactly merciful. I forget the particular nomenclature. Huh? No. It's some other. It's in Vishnu Sahasranam, and that's not it. That's certainly one of his qualities. But it's from Baladev Vibhusan's commentary in Vishnu Sahasranam. Someone was quoting it. That supposing someone, to illustrate the mercifulness of Vishnu, supposing someone's a Vishnu Bhakta, and then it starts to get a little, how you translate what he wrote in Sanskrit is, there's different translations. But he's kind upon such a person. Bhanu Swami's translation is that even if someone forgets him because of some bodily discomfort during the time of leaving the body, the Lord doesn't forget his devotee, and he will help the devotee to come to him. But it doesn't mean no more birth. The service, whatever service that we do and may do for the rest of our lives, won't be forgotten by the personality of God. It goes to our eternal account, a spiritual account, not material. However, going back to Godhead requires that your mind is fixed upon the Supreme Lord, which is the first question. And there's not a substitute. We are practicing sadhana for what purpose? Not just to get points on our report card. 5 gold stars, we did lots of service. That's nice. That's nice. Not poo-pooing it, not belittling it. But there's a purpose of all of that. What's the purpose of the Vedas? To be with Krishna, to be absorbed in Krishna. Mayastakta manarkpata yonkam yunjan badarashraya samsayam samagram. So it's you have to come to the stage where you're squeaky clean. And we're not there yet. We're sadhakas. That's nice. It's nice. Keep going. And the demigods, they're not there yet. We're not there yet. They're more elevated in bhakti and in piety and everything. Someone else.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So Maharaj, once we realize knowingly, unknowingly we commit offenses, what should be our response? Like how to nullify it?
Go ask Vishnu. Durvasa Muni asked Vishnu. What did Vishnu say? Go back to Ambarish Maharaj. Fall at his feet. Beg his forgiveness. Now, what do you do? Here comes the next question. I'm anticipating the next question. What about those offenses that we're not aware of? Prabhupada was asked that question, and his answer was very simple. Therefore, every day we recite the prayer, Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha, which means you can do it mechanically, but it's not the same. Then you can, you know, you can say, excuse me, I stepped on your foot. I hope you don't mind. Well, you can genuinely. And it's a moment-to-moment thing. Especially when we're dealing, 'cause, you know, just getting off the plane today, Dallas Love Field, nice name. You know, there were people in front, and the lady in front took her bag from up top and placed it on the ground, but my foot was on the ground. I didn't mind. You know, it was, oh, I'm really sorry. The feeling was there that she was really sorry because she could feel it didn't hit the ground. It hit something else besides the ground. So there's the polite thing, you know, I'm sorry I, you know, elbowed you or something. But then, you know, it's the genuine regret. That's what Narada wanted now the Kuvera Muni to regret their misuse of their position. So we have some asset, the human form of life. It's an asset. Don't misuse it. And if you misuse it, you feel sorry. And the ones that don't even know that you're doing just because you exist, you're doing things that are... So some humility is an essential characteristic of a Vaishnava. Amanitvam adambitvam, for starters. And it's not just a nice verse in Bhagavad Gita, it's a quality that permits us to feel the genuine bestowal of Krishna's mercy in our life, Kripa Shakti. It entitles us to Kripa Shakti. And then you don't think, I've got Kripa Shakti. It's always in that humble mood. Becoming a pure devotee is not a piece of cake. It takes very sincere sadhana over an extended period of time, which is exactly what the Yoga Sutras teach. Okay. Anything else? Huh?
I have a quick question.
You have a quick question.
It's a very
They're all
similar,
quick
actually.
questions.
Very similar to what's already asked. So I
Okay.
know you already mentioned 10 times, right? Do not commit offenses, right?
Oh, you got it.
So I think, like, my question is, you know, we have devotees, right, who are committing offenses to us. And I know you said we need to mature ourselves, right? Focus on Vishnu. It will take us, at least for me, a lot of time to get there. Anything practical I could do, you know, to one, not commit offenses in, you know, for other devotees, or when somebody else is committing an offense, right? How should I?
Well, there's many answers to that, but here's one really simple one. The one really simple one is called the Golden Rule. You know what the Golden Rule is? It's a biblical saying, but there's many, all religious and spiritual teachings teach the same thing. The language is different. The Golden Rule from the Bible is, you do unto others as you would have others do unto you. You've heard that one. That's the Golden Rule. And there's the answer to your question. So, you know, take the context again. I'm a human being, and I make mistakes because I'm a human being. You know, there's 4 defects, and that's one of them. And just out of my humanness, I make mistakes. So someone makes a mistake with me. What would I want them to do with me if knowing I stepped on their foot or I said something? Have you had, the answer to this question is yes. Have you had the experience where you went out of your way to do something that was you meant to express kindness to the other person, they read it the opposite way?
Yes.
That's when you're going out of your way to do a kindness and they read it the opposite way. It happens. It happens. How did it happen? So when you know it's possible to happen, and it does happen, what do? The golden rule. Or another way of saying it's the Acharya principle. You act according to the standards of what you wish to be, or you wish others to be, so that you're setting an example for them, how you would like them to treat you. You set the example of how you treat them. What goes around comes around, And we're not there yet, but that's the cultivation stage, that's the sadhana stage. As consistently as possible. Knowing that you're less than perfect. Knowing that people are going to read your language or your actions wrongly than you're intended. What to speak of when you're just kind of half asleep or not being so attentive. Just doing stuff. Just being yourself. Just living your life. Just hang on. Someone can remind me, send me a text message, and I have a whole document on the Golden Rule from different teachings, and it's such a prominent core part of becoming a capable person, a virtuous person. It's not transcendental person, just a virtuous person. And then, do that because Krishna will smile. When you're trying to do that for his pleasure, even you're doing it less than perfectly, Krishna will smile and he'll help you. And that's really the key. Okay, he wants the microphone. You got the last question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody after you, though.
Okay.
Okay.
So this is a very personal question between God and us. Like, Krishna, little Krishna, and say, me. I do certain commitment that every day, regularly, I'll do this.
Good.
So I do it for 10 days. Then we are family person, kids, lot of responsibility, disturbance come. And then few days it gets diluted. And then again we have to get back.
You're human, huh?
So in those cases, does it offense?
No.
Then other thing is,
Nope.
how do you convince myself?
No, how do you convince yourself? You're already convinced, but then you went out to lunch. It's called anishtha bhakti. So the cure, nishtha. How do you get to nishtha? Sadhana, nicely done. Sadhana, nicely done, in the association of devotees, results in what? Anartha nivritti. What's the obstacle? It's the unwanted things inside. That's the obstacle. The obstacle's not out there. The obstacle's in here. And those anarthas inside become cleansed by proper performance of bhakti in the association of devotees, where you don't offend them.
Because sometimes certain thoughts comes, and then
welcome to the club. It's less than perfect. We were in the same topic. We're sadhakas that are less than perfect. Now, how do you go from the less than perfect to perfect? That's the question. That's the topic. By anartha nivritti. How do you get to anartha nivritti? Sadhu sangha, bhajana kriya, anartha vritti, and then there's a lapse, and you get back to it again because it's unsteady. Then you move towards steady.
Yeah,
Yeah, you attend this seminar,
yeah.
but we're not going to give you the microphone every time you want to say something.
Sure, sure. So Prabhuji,
This question you're asking is our topic.
yeah.
That's Madhurya Kandambani.
Sure. So I'll give you why I'm asking this question. I'm a great devotee of little Krishna, Bal Krishna. We are treating him as a baby. So every day morning I wake up, take a bath, wake him up, give Shiva. Some days my meeting start at morning 7. I let him sleep till 9 o'clock till my schedule get free. Otherwise I'll be in trouble. So I let him sleep. Then I feel bad. I'm making him sleep there. I didn't get time. So that happens, and nobody at home, everybody gone to school and all those. So how do I convince myself that this is not something good?
You get regulated, man. Sadhana bhakti. And in deity worship, there's two most important things. You know what those two most important things are? Cleanliness and regularity. Cleanliness and regularity. Punctuality, specifically. Punctuality. So, get yourself regulated. Cleanliness and punctuality. Or, you're going to stay in that zone of being unsteady and sometimes. And you're like riding the waves of a river, and it's just a cork up and down and sideways and all around, and you get dizzy. But it's just not say you're a bad person, but that's the consequence of not doing sadhana, doing deity seva in a way that's not the way deity seva is supposed to be done. You're not going to get the full effect. Okay, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.